to Comfort Time with Aunty Yunike. The story for today is a dog named Spotty. And I'm sure you're thinking, what? Please wait and see. This is an interesting story. Sad, yes, but also interesting. Growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of animals, but I've never really been one to be attached to four-legged animals. My pet of choice is two-legged animals, so it's birds. And if you come to my house, you'll find that I put out dishes on my lawn for the birds. So normally birds will come, they'll swim, and they'll take a drink from my lawn, especially when it's very hot. Sometimes you can actually see them gasping because it's so hot and they really need a drink. So they know to always come to my house and they will find something to drink. So I love chickens, and I've kept a lot of pigeons. So those are my choice when it comes to pets. But my children wanted to have a dog. So they gave us so much help and said, Mom, please, we want a dog, we want a dog. Eventually, I asked my husband if we could get them a dog. He didn't care either way. He was an agronomist, so he was more interested in farming and rather than pets. So we got them a dog, and they named the dog Spotty. So they grew up, and in no time, the girls were at the university, the boys were at boarding school, and their father was late, so I was on my own. And as I said, I was not one who loved dogs or cats. I just never bothered to have a pet. Until one day I was at home, and my brother, whom I've talked about in previous videos, got sick. So now I was called to say, no, he's not doing very well, you need to come and see him. So I went to the Copper Belt, about 4 hours away from Lusaka where I live, and I found that for sure my brother wasn't feeling very well. I escorted him to the doctors, and they decided that they should admit him. And they admitted him at a hospital in Chingola, at the South Hospital. So from where he lived to where we took him, it was another hour drive to the hospital. So he stayed there, and they told us that the drug that they wanted to use for him was not available in the hospital. And I asked for the name for the drug. They gave us the name. I called some friends of mine from Lusaka, some doctors, and they said, yes, we can source that for you, so come over and you collect it. So that's how I left my brother there and came to Lusaka to collect the drugs. Then when I got home, I opened my gate, and before me there was a dog, a wolf-like looking dog. So I got so scared, I opened the gate, and I was like, did I open the wrong gate? So I pushed the gate back. And then I said, no, this is my place. So again, I opened slowly, and the dog was just there looking at me. I was like, okay, so now what do? I need to go into my house, and I'm scared of dogs. So I opened the gate slowly, and then I didn't close it. I just opened it slowly, and I was looking at the dog, and for a few moments we stared at each other. And then I decided, okay, the dog is the one who should not be here. That's the stranger, so I shouldn't be scared. I should get into my home. So I slowly walked up to my house, walked up to the back door, opened the door, got in the house, and then I opened the window now to look at the dog. By this time the dog had moved, and it had come to the veranda. So I was looking at the dog wondering, hey, what is going on? Where are you from and what do you want here? But of course I didn't get any answers. So I was like, okay. So I went in, prepared my supper. It was in the evening around 18 hours. So I prepared my supper and decided to prepare enough for my new guest. So I prepared enough, put some on a plate, and slowly opened the door to the veranda, pushed the plate out, and left the plate for the dog. And then I was watching from the window, and the dog was eating. I was like, okay, so you must have been hungry too. So was eating, and then the next day, I was preparing now for the drugs. They told me to go the following day. So that day, my young sister came to visit and to hear how my brother was doing, because she couldn't come because of she was working. So this is my youngest sister in the family. So she came and she was like, okay, so how is he and blah, blah, blah. And so we got to talk. And she was like, I've never known you to like dogs. I've seen a dog outside. I'm like, oh, that dog, that's my new guest. So I explained how the dog came to be. And she was very impressed that I wasn't that scared and I embraced the dog. So now I got the drugs and I was now getting ready to go back to the Copper Belt. So I told her, look, this is my dog. At that point I hadn't named the dog yet. And I didn't even know if it was female or male. So I said, this is my guest. So please, we bought some dog food and ensure that my guest is well fed as I am away. So she was like, no problem. And then she said, look, I think it makes more sense that I move in with you because where I'm staying, I'm paying rent and I'm living alone. You are here, your children are gone a lot, and you are always on the Copper Belt, so I think we could save some money if I moved into your house. I was like, yeah, sure. Please feel free. So that's how she moved into my home. So after collecting the drugs from the doctors and asking my sister to care for my new guest, I traveled back to Ndola, took the drugs, and by then the doctors were waiting and the drugs performed very well. And I came back to Lusaka as he went back to his home. Then my sister was very impressed, even the children were very impressed that I had actually taken a liking to a dog and was living in harmony with her. By then we discovered it was a she. Because what happened was that now she became pregnant and started caring for the mother, and before long she had puppies. She had 2 puppies and one died, so there was only one remaining. So I cared for them. I used to even buy milk for the puppy, and the puppy, it's not that the mother didn't have enough milk. She had, but I just wanted to spoil the puppy and of course ensured that the mother had enough food. So at this point, I'd actually come to name the dog Spotty. And I named the dog Spotty because the children, when they were growing up, when we got them a pet, they named their pet Spotty. And when I came back from the Copper Belt, the dog was also very happy to see me, like wagging the tail and really showing that happiness. But as I'm not a dog person, I could not hug the dog as I've seen my children or my siblings do. But I was able to rub like between the eyes. I was able to rub and just say, okay, I hear you, I like you too, I'm happy to see you too. So now I noticed as I was rubbing the dog between the eyes that she too had a spot on between the eyes. It was a darker spot. So it was then I decided, okay, so you look like the dog that my children used to have, so we'll call you Spotty again. That's how that dog now became Spotty. So we continued living until I was told that my brother was not well again and I had to travel. The dog was doing well, Spotty was doing well, and the puppy was doing well. So I said, okay, I'm traveling, and I left them in the care of my sister. And of course the gardener who lived in the compound. So I went 2 weeks. We lost my brother, and then I came back home. I talk more about how that affected me, how that impacted me in the video called Grace to See, for those who would be interested to know more. So that's how I came back to Lusaka, still very heartbroken, still very sad, and still very fragile. So I get to the house, and of course I was expecting that Spotty will come looking for me. And I opened the gate and Spotty was not there. I went round, I could not find Spotty. So I called out the gardener. I said, where is Spotty? And then he says, oh mom, it's very sad that what happened. I'm like, what happened? Now I was getting really apprehensive. I really wanted to know what has happened to Spotty. When I left, Spotty and the baby were good. So he says, what happened was that when you left, your sister's boyfriend came to visit. And as he was driving in, the puppy went towards the car. And he hit the puppy on one of the limbs and the hip, and it was badly hurt. So now what happened next was very annoying and very painful for me, even just from listening to the story, was that this guy, instead of moving back and just checking that the dog was okay, and if it was too damaged, maybe taking it to the vet so they can put it down, doing something. The garden boy says, I told him, can you move back the car so that we see how badly hurt the puppy is? And he was like, that one is already gone. It's too badly damaged, there's nothing you can do. It's almost finishing off now. So, and then he refused to move the car. So, and then he says what happened was that now Spotty stood by the puppy throughout, and the puppy was making all sorts of noises, was bleeding badly, and the dog stood there just watching. And as soon as the puppy stopped breathing and was making no more noise, Spotty took off and has never been seen again. I said I was just coming back from a funeral. I was really, really angry to hear that. I was so sad. So I called my sister and I told her, I never want to see your boyfriend here, ever. He's such a cruel person. If he can do that to an animal, he can do it to you. So I don't think he's a person you should be with. Where were you? Why didn't you push him to remove the puppy from under the tire and take it to the vet so they can put it down? Or even, maybe they could have saved it. But she had no answers, and at that point I didn't even want to talk to her. I was really upset that she actually let that be, and says, no, he just told me that he had hurt the puppy. I didn't know the extent of the story. I'm like, no, you should have taken time to find out exactly. So things were not okay after that. I was really upset and I was very, very sad. So it was like I was hurt all over again. I'm coming from one funeral to another funeral. So with time, I recovered. And then my sister, I think, was not comfortable anymore, and she decided to go for a few days to live with my other sister. So, and at this point, she explained to the boyfriend how hurt I was, how traumatized I was with what he had done. So now he was very scared. because they knew that they call me Vanampundu. If Vanampundu ngana. So the mother of twins, if she went that far as to say she never wanted to see me, I better not show my face there. And that's exactly how it was. So he never came. And then towards the end, about I think a few months down the line, by then my sister had come back and had made peace with my loss. So she told me, oh, this guy is not well. He's very sick, he's actually bedridden, and he's been asking for you. I was like, what for? He says he wants to see you. He feels that he needs you to forgive him. I said, but I already forgave him. It's fine, I let it go. I'm upset, I was sad that it went down the way it did, but I already forgave him and forgot about that. Because Naklo, he says he wants to actually see you. So I was like, okay. So went, bought him some few things that I felt as a patient he would appreciate, and went to see him. And he was able to explain that, you know, it was very insensitive of him, but he had had a bit of drink and maybe he wasn't thinking very straight. So she could have behaved better, and he really wanted me to forgive him. So I was like, yeah, you really hurt me. And that was not a nice thing to do, even if it was to an animal, you know. I felt if you could be that cruel to an animal, I didn't trust that you could be good to my sister. So we talked about it and we let it go. And 2-3 weeks later, we lost him. So that is how my story of Spotty ended. And up to today, I've never understood how Spotty came to be, because my gate was secured. And how did she manage to come in to be in my compound? That I've never understood. But whatever the mystery is, I was so grateful for the presence, because having Spotty around made me even feel more secure. So what I can say is that, you know, we need to be kind to all living things. I know I've talked about being kind and compassionate to people, but we should also be kind and compassionate to animals. And if you are one that don't like animals, just don't hurt them. If you can't love them, leave them be, but don't hurt them. That's all. So you don't have to be mean, and you don't have to think because you don't, they're animals, they don't feel the pain. They feel the same pain. So that is why I felt I need to share this story. I know there are many people who think animals should not be treated well, and I'm appealing to you that the pain they feel is the same pain that we feel. And for those who care for those animals, if they're pets or whatever they are, even just animals that they look after, the pain you inflict on them when you hate their animals is real. So please, let's be kind to each other. Let's be kind to animals. Let's be kind to even vegetation. By vegetation, I mean trees, plants, everything. Because all of them have a role to play in our lives for good. So let's be careful how we treat our environment, how we treat the animals around us, how we treat people around us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Comfort Time continues. As always, I'm asking you to please subscribe. You can do it even right now. All you need to do is look at your page as you are watching me. There's somewhere where it's written subscribe. So click there. Watch where it says, where there's a thumbs up, click there. You've done it. And it doesn't cost us anything. So please make my day and do that. Thank you. Comfort Time continues.